What is up, all you GBA type fans? This is Tom. I'm here bringing you guys my Week 5 match against CrimsonCBAD and the Detroit Steelwings. If you have any questions about my team or how I broke down his team, please check out my team builder that I uploaded yesterday. Looking at his team, we see that he pretty much brought exactly what I expected. He didn't bring the bottom line being Tentacruel, Curum, or Dust Noir, but he did bring three of his top line being Crook, Tornti, and Volcarona, as well as some of his more bulky wall-ish mons being Magneton, Slowbro, and Serena. Now looking at it, I assume Slowbro's there for Darm and Zydog, Magneton there to possibly take hits and pivot out for Thundurus, and Serena to spin, and then attempt to also pivot out with things like U-turn. Torn and Crook there for knockoff, and Torn especially for pivot and that bulky regenerator mon, and then Volcarona there for that setup firebugness. Now my team, obviously CB Darm, a Life Orb Thundurus, defensive-ish Nidoqueen with spikes and or T-spikes and rocks, Hitmonlee, not offensive, Spadef P2, and a Scarf Zydog. Looking at his team, it's a lot of what I expected, and that means that our prep was efficient. And looking at this matchup, it seems like it can go in either person's favor. We just got to make the right moves. Just got to be stick to the plan, stay in control in the match. We should be fine. Let's jump right into it. He's going to lead off with Crocodile, and based on the fact that the Crocodile comes out first, this pretty much shows me that he's Scarfed. Because looking at it, he sees that the Intimidate goes off first. He sends out his Pokemon first, for anyone that didn't know that. But I'm kind of going to call his bluff, mostly because maybe he just wants to go right to Slowbro and not take a hit from Darmanitan, a U-turn especially. But even if you want it for rocks, I would be able to pivot out, get some big damage off on a Pokemon that I kind of considered a big problem to my team. Gonna go for U-turn, gonna go right out. I can see he has the Rocky Helmet, kind of like I expected. It's pretty much what was his best means of taking on the Darmanitan. Slowbro is going to be a bulky pain, but I think that I have the right amount of mons to take it on. I'm going to go right here into Thundurus. Sorry. Now, I just want to talk about that Sludge Bomb real quick. Now, while I could have gone just for T-Bolt and attack what was in front of me, I wanted to see if Serena was coming out like I had expected. Instead, we see that Magneton came out on Thundurus instead. So it kind of changes up my game plan a little bit. Instead of predicting Serena to come in and take hits from Thundurus, instead now I see that Magneton's going to come in. And the thing about Magneton is if it's not leftovers and it's in fact a Violite, it's not going to be taking a lot of Thunderbolts over and over and over again. So, and of course I'm faster, assuming he's not Scarfed, and which that would be kind of counterproductive. Scarf to take Thunderbolts from Thundurus, just He can come in, he could take hits, but not for long. A lot of T-Bolts are, T-Bolts is still going to do upwards of 35% to his Magneton. I'm going to just hard switch right out. Don't really feel like getting any Life Orb recoil on myself if I don't need to. He's going to go for HP Ice. Good prediction on his part to get damage off on either Thundurus or Nidoqueen. We see that it being defensive, it does, like 72 damage, 62 or 65, 60 after the leftover Black Sludge, sorry. And he's going to go right for Magnet Rise, as I'm going to set up my first layer of T-Spikes. So this right here is my beginnings to start pressuring either Serena or Slowbro. If Slowbro comes in next time Darmanitan's in, he's going to get that poisoned. If Serena comes in next time or just even to get to spin him away, he's going to get poisoned. That's kind of the point I wanted here, to pressure those two walls so that my offense could be a little bit more effective against him. He's going to go for Hidden Power Ice again as I switch out into Porygon 2. I know I could take a hit. It does not much. And I trace Magnet Pull, which means literally nothing because he can, like I said, just Volt Switch out. And right here, I'm going to predict him to go into Serena, I guess, to try and spin away rocks. And I'm just going to predict that instead of going for Tri-Attack or go for Recover, which I don't need to. Instead, I'm going to go for Signal Beam, see how much damage it's going to do. And we're going to see right here that, based on the amount of damage that he does take, while he's bulky, it looks Spadef. He's not going to be able to enjoy taking a lot of those hits, but he can, of course, Synthesis, which is what I'm expecting him to do. But I don't know much about the Serena set just yet, so I kind of have to get a little bit more information. I expect him to spin right here, but instead he goes and sets up Light Screen. So I think to myself, all right, Sludge Bomb doesn't seem that, that reasonable. I could go for T-Bolt, or I can also show off that, I could also go for U-Turn, because if he goes into Magneton here, which he doesn't, he ends up staying in. I guess he is going to synthesis up, thinking, he can take a hit. And even being a Life Orb U-Turn without any investment, that is a lot of damage. It almost kills him. Props to Crimson for being bulky enough to take hits. And, I'm going to go right out on a Darmanitan, and like I said, so this, if he had spun here, that's fine, because obviously Slowbro wouldn't have had to take the poison. But instead, he's going to synthesis up, and like I mentioned before, once Darmanitan comes back in, he has to go into Slowbro. He pretty much has to switch right here in order to, not let the Serena take a lot of damage, and instead he's going to allow his Slowbro to get poisoned. Granted, you could argue that 2 layers of spikes would have been better than 1 layer of spikes, solely because the toxic poison would have been a little better than just the standard poison. Oh, sorry about that. It seems that the video decided to jump size on me without any warning. Ugh, okay. Anyway, the only thing that happened there is I U-turn out on the Slowbro. The way I was thinking about it is, while I would take more Rocky Helmet damage, I took 30 the first time, and I would probably take, another 30 the second time. But besides that, I figured that's kind of all I need to take on Darmanitan. And based on how Slowbro is right now, he can't really take that many more U-turns, whereas other things can kind of start, bashing in on Slowbro a little bit more. So like I said, I went for a U-turn, really pivoting out, and the Slowbro here is poisoned. So it's going to be a little bit less likely that he can just bring it in and with the poison damage, and he's going to be forced to slack off. It's going to be a little bit harder for him to utilize Slowbro just overall, because like outside of a generator, he can switch out, but it's still going to be pressuring him that he can't take as many hits, or that he's going to be worn down faster than he'd like to be. Right here, I'm just going to go attack with what's in front of me. I'm going to go for T-Bolt. And it does a lot of damage to the Magneton. Granted, that was a crit, but like I said, 35 to 40% is how much it would have done. That did maybe 49% with the crit. The Magneton is bulky enough to take those hits, and obviously in my team builder, if I had put on some sort of hidden power value, I could have hit it again. But who knows? Maybe it wouldn't have not knocked it out. Based on his investment or otherwise. He goes back into Slowbro to get that regenerator, but with the Life Orb U-turn, it pretty much knocks him down to right where he was before the regenerator. So again, he's losing this battle. While the regenerator is kind of helping his Slowbro, it's not helping it. Overall, he's not getting anywhere. He would have to switch out, come back in, switch out, come back in without taking any damage, like upwards of 2 more times in order just to get back up to green HP, or just go out for Slack Off. Right here, I'm going to go for Signal Beam. It's going to do a fair chunk of damage. It's going to not be enough to knock him out. Obviously, Slowbro is a fat piece of shit. It's going to go for Slack Off. And here we're going to play kind of a long game. I see that both of his walls have recovery. Granted, they're also both poisoned. He's pretty much forced to make a defensive play and to be a little bit more on the back foot than he'd like to be. Instead of, getting damage off on me, he's forced to kind of stay a little bit more ahead of his own walls so that they don't get... defensively checked, or they don't get, knocked out prematurely, so that he doesn't have a switch in, or he's then forced to sack more mons, or even bring Crocodile prematurely in order to take hits from Darm or even Thunderous. It's going to switch out after he yawns me, and right here I'm just going to go for another Signal Beam. I think nothing else really wants to come in versus Slowbro even, and I really don't want him to get a free Slack Off. I'm going to go for Signal Beam. Shows that he is SPDEF. And granted, the light screen is also still up. If that wasn't up, I believe, yeah, I would have killed the Slowbro there. So a bit unfortunate. I'm gonna go to sleep, and I believe here he's just gonna step into the light screen. I'm gonna switch out. This means that his yawn now is is completely ineffective versus my team. He can pretty much he can't click that, so he can go for Slack Off. He can show me his special attacking moves, and otherwise that's kind of what he's forced to do. Right here, think to myself, alright, T-Spikes are up. He's not staying in, and I have enough speed to speed creep this Serena. Sludge Wave might not kill, so instead I'm going to predict him to go right into Magneton and go for Earth Power. Now right here, Yeah, okay, right here he is going to recover. Again, very curious that he didn't rapid spin. So I'd expect, at least at this point, for him to rapid spin, but I guess the damage has already been done because, I mean, while rocks aren't up, you know, Vulcan is going to get poisoned. That's probably not the biggest deal to him. Torn, obviously immune to poison because it's a flying type, and Magneton's a steel type. So, outside of Crocodile, nothing else here is really going to really be a detriment to getting poisoned. But I go for the Sludge Wave. Not that, you know, heavily invested in special attack, but that is a lot of damage. He's going to set the light screen again, but this means right here that he can't take another one. He's not leftovers, which probably means he's light clay. Actually, it does mean he's light clay because we saw how long the light screen lasted. I am not going to make any roll predictions here. I'm just going to go right for a Sludge Wave. I'd like to knock out this fucking pain in my ass Serena. Mostly because I don't want to deal with it anymore. I want that dead. And he's going to go to Magneton. He's going to take 0, obviously, from the Sludge Wave. But right here, I'm thinking to myself, that Serena is super low. And he can't come in and take a hit because he is relatively low. And most of the things on my team outside of like Porygon 2 are probably going to outpace it. So I think to myself, I think I'm going to set up rocks. And I'm at full HP, so he can't, he can't go and he can't set up, or he can't knock me out or otherwise with an HP Ice. So I get rocks up, and I think to myself, this is going to put more residual damage onto the Slowbro. It's going to put more residual damage onto the Serena. And, you know, now, if he brings in Serena again and he doesn't spin and it dies to Toxic, he's dead. Like, that's it. He gone, you know? Gonna go for Earth Power, my hardest hitting move, and Slowbro here is just gonna go right for Scald. I know the light screen is up, which is why I think to myself, well, if that wasn't up, then I probably could have, you know, two-shot here. I don't really want to, I know he's gonna switch, so I think to myself, he is super low, and I am just gonna stay in. Again, I just want these fucking walls to die, you know? He goes into Serena, and with the poison damage, plus the rocks, actually, just the rocks, he's knocked out. That means, ladies and gentlemen, the poison and the rocks are here to stay. Maybe he suspected that he would maybe have a little bit of HP, and maybe with his speed creep, he would have been able to outpace the Nidoqueen, but I did have enough speed to outpace a max speed, or at least a speed creep Serena. So right here, he's going to go into Tornadus. He's going to go for knockoff just to get rid of my Black Sludge. Now, obviously, I am defensive, so that's not going to do that much. And right here, I'm just letting Nidoqueen stay in to die. I thought to myself, on my roster wants to take a knockoff. I know Hitmonlee, nor Darm, nor Thundurus want to take a knockoff. Really don't want P2's Violet to get knocked off, and so this is the most expendable mon. He goes for Hurricane and misses, unfortunately. Now, that's kind of the downside of Hurricane. It is, you know, Bird Focus Blast, so you kind of are expected to miss. The Sludge Waves there didn't really mean anything, considering the fact that he's just going to regenerate it off anyway. But I wanted to get that damage off to ensure that he wasn't at full HP. So there is kind of a silver line to that. And the light screen is finally gone, so all my special attacks are not inhibited whatsoever. So that means that Sludge Waves, the attacks from Thundurus are not going to be inhibited against any of his mons. And overall, I'm in a better position now that Serena is gone, so he can't set up more fucking light screens against my team. I'm in with Darmanitan. I think to myself, he can just let this die, or I can pivot out, and I think to myself, he just went for HP Ice. I have a Darmanitan in. He is probably going to think that I'm going to U-turn. He's going to probably Volt Switch out, because Magnet Rise doesn't make sense. I've seen two of his other moves. I've seen HP Ice, and I've seen Volt Switch. What's his last move? Think to myself, it could be Flash Cannon, doesn't do a lot to Thundurus. It could be he could go for Volt Switch, doesn't do anything to Thundurus. He's not going for HP Ice because Darmanitan's right in front of him, and Magnet Rise just doesn't make sense. What can I go for? I'm going to go right back into Thundurus, and regardless of what he goes for, because I know he's not going for HP Ice, I'm going to, get in and attempt to do more damage to him. Goes for Volt Switch. Thank you for that HP right back. That puts me back up to a relatively healthy perspective, 25% from that Volt Switch. I'm going to go for Thunderbolt, and right here, I think I'm in a range to kill him, and I am. That's kind of the nice thing about Thundurus, especially being a Life Orb variant, and kind of the unfortunate part about Magneton. While it is bulky enough to take hits, whether or not they're resisted, it's still not as good on the SPDF side as it is on the defensive side. He goes into Crocodile here. He gets poisoned, gets the rocks damage. I think, I can I can go into Nidoqueen and just let it die. We see that he does come in, and this is screaming from the mountaintops. I'm scarfed. I'm scarfed. I'm scarfed. I don't have an item, so I think to myself, oh, maybe I can take this, but if he has max attack, okay, he has max attack. I can't take another one. I'm just going to let him knock me out. We see that he's not Moxie, so it's not as much of a problem. So I'm going to let him knock me out with a second knockoff here. It's perfectly fine. Not necessarily worried. This is going to force me to... now that Nidoqueen is down, but with Magneton and Serena also being down, that kind of means that I can almost just start being super offensive and just keep pressing back into him in terms of with my offense, because he doesn't have the key switches that he used to have anymore, namely for Thundurus. He's going to switch out, and while he could have knocked off there, maybe he didn't want to not get the opportunity to play his trump card right here, which is what he's going to do. He could have knocked off, got rid of my Violite. Yes, that would have been a reckless switch on my end, but instead I wanted to burn a turn of sleep, see if I could wake up. We see here that he burns his trump card, meaning he can't come back in unless he has Roost with this Volcarona. But I'm thinking to myself, the only way he's able to win right here is if he starts Quiver Dancing. And with that in mind, I'm also in the range where Outrage, which is now unresisted by anything on his team, even at the range that Crocodile is at, I can blast it pretty hard with an Outrage. He's going to go right for Quiver Dance, and him being base 100, obviously not Scarfed, me being Scarfed Doggo, I am going to be able to put him in a range, or he's currently in a range after the poison damage where I can knock him out with an Outrage. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm not going to try and F around with 1,000 arrows. I'm not going to try and be cheeky here. Just click Outrage. He's going to go right into Crocodile with the rocks, with the poison damage. This means that he can't take 2. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to just click Outrage. This was his best switch for it at this point. Obviously even Slowbro with the pretty much it's at half currently. So he's not going to be able to take more than 1 as it is. I'm going to do upwards of 35-40%, and obviously even at -1, Crocodile can't take 2. That's kind of the nice thing about Doggo. While it's quote unquote frail, its offense, even if it's not banded, is still something to be recognized. It's still kind of something where you're going to have to make the right switch, or otherwise you're going to not have the most enjoyable experience. Oh, do I stay in and take this Outrage? I better not. So that's kind of the point. He's going to go back into Slowbro. I assume he's going to slack off. He knows he can take an Outrage from this point, and he could also bank to me hitting myself with my own Confusion. But I'm going to go into Thundurus. I know I can take an Ice Beam from this point. He's not going to do all the damage unless he crits. Of course he crits. So this puts me in kind of a precarious position. And right here, we're down pretty low in terms of the time limit. I didn't think that Ice Beam wasn't going to kill if it didn't crit. Kind of sucked that it did. But I wanted to get in Thundurus aggressively so that I could just click T-Bolt and knock this out. Because all he has left is a dead Volcarona, he has Tornadus, and he has this Slowbro. Right here, I am just going to click Outrage again. There's really no reason for me not to. He is going to sack off his Volcarona. A lot of things are dying this week to hazards, which aren't, granting me kills from my mons. Not necessarily a problem for my team, considering the fact that, setting up hazards against a team that has 2 hazard removers there's nothing really wrong with that. I am okay with how this is going. I've knocked out his walls to other damage that's not just me having to press buttons and kill things. Gonna go to Porygon 2 here. I am still asleep. I do get the regenerated back, so I don't need to click recover again. What the nice thing about him slacking off his both slacking off and sacking off his Volcarona is that in doing so, I was not locked into Outrage because Outrage didn't make contact with anything. I didn't actually start utilizing the move. I wasn't locked into it. So I was able to switch out, even though we saw that I did click it, and as Volcarona was sacked to rocks. Here's going to go into Tornadus, and I assume that he's probably going to attempt to knock off. Maybe we'll see if he has Superpower. I'm going to go right for Tri Attack. I figure it's my best move. There's no reason for me to go for Signal Beam. I'm going to get him down to super fucking low. He's going to switch out again with the Regenerator bullshit. And I think to myself, I could probably, get big damage off on this Slowbro. He can yawn. His special attacks aren't going to do, fucking anything. and he's pressured to a point where he just, you know, he can regenerate and switch in and switch out and switch in and switch out, but he can't bring Tornadoes back in because we saw Tri-Attack is doing over 25%, and with the rocks, he is just going to die. So I'm going to go just continue clicking the Tri-Attack. Right now we're below, I believe, like 5 or 4 minutes. This was a long battle, and we were making a lot of switches. We were doing a lot, as much as we can, to keep Mons alive, to ensure that he stayed alive, I was alive. I was looking at my calcs and it showed that Signal Beam actually did more damage than Tri-Attack, which we see right there, and I'm kind of hoping, can I please get a fucking confusion so he stops slack-offing. God, if Thunderous was still alive, this Slowbro would not be alive, and neither would Thunderous. It's the game we play. He misses Hurricanes. I got crit by Ice Beam. I did crit his Magneton. You know, it evens out. I'm going to Signal Beam again, and this is going to put him down to a range where if he doesn't slack off, or if he, you know, if he yawns like this, like he should have slacked off here. Maybe it would have saved his differential, but instead he's going to yawn, and he's going to die to poison damage. Again, not another kill going to my Mons. And this last turn, unfortunately, we are going to time out. He's not going to press a button, so I'm going to end up winning 4-1. While it's not a problem, would have liked to knock out this Tornadus. I believe I could have knocked out this Tornadus. I'm only under the first turn of drowsiness here, so he could have superpowered, he could have knocked off, he could have hurricaned, but that was his last Mon. And with that in mind, we see that that I won. So that means the Sharpedos have now 2 things. 1, 3-0 in our conference. Sorry, 3-0 in our division. That is great. That is great. We beat Cooper. We beat him 2-0. We beat Geo 4-0. And now we beat Crimson 4-1, which gives me a +3 differential. That puts me ahead of everybody in my division. That allows me to have a very solid footing within the opponent or the coaches that I have to face now once more as the season concludes. That in mind, we now have a gauntlet coming up. We can take on John, then Envy, and then Mono. Pretty, you know, tall order right there of those 3 very good coaches. I know Envy I lost to last season to a Gyarados sweep. John is a fucker. Mono, of course, is the best coach currently in the GBA. So I have to buckle down. I'm going to take this momentum and move it in and try and provide John some more hard dick. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. But I'm super excited that I just won 3 division matches. Something that I haven't done in a very long time. And this team is showing that it is good, which I'm not going to harp on. I'm very pleased with the results, and hope you guys are too. But what a match! Would have liked if it had been a 4-0, but Crimson did the smart thing. It wasn't like a match against Callum where he just chose not to click buttons. You know, Crimson did the right thing, switched out, ensured that his regenerator could kind of keep him alive, and it did. You know, he slacked off when he needed to. He ensured the time limit went down so that he, you know, kept Tornadus around, because otherwise if he just clicked buttons and let it die, then that's pretty much what would have happened. He wouldn't be able to knock out Porygon 2. Even with the superpower, I still had my Violet on. Knockoff wouldn't kill me. You know, it's a game we play though. So I'm okay with these results. Hopefully you guys are too. Currently puts me, I believe, 3-2 plus 6. Yeah, that sounds right. Might be different if it's on the screen here. But with that in mind, super excited. I'll be facing John next week. I look forward to seeing you guys there, and I know I'm going to be bringing my A game because this is a season that is not a throwaway season. I can win, I will win, and I'll show everybody that I'm not the dumpster fire that I was last season. Let's go. Crunch time. I can finally say that again. With that in mind, see y'all next week. Later.